Welcome to January 2026, and this is your property market update. So what happened last year at the tail end of January 2025? Well, as we all know, we were all sitting on our hands waiting for the budget to happen. You get two markets in the year. Ultimately, the second market is the autumn market from September all the way through to December. We did not see any activity whatsoever because most people were waiting to see what was going to happen with the outcome of the budget. And ultimately, a complete anticlimax. Very, very little changes to the property market, apart from a bit of mansion tax added, which is going to take effect in a couple of years. But ultimately, nothing that is going to majorly change buyers or sellers in terms of what they do. So what we've done as a business, we've launched lots of properties on Boxing Day, and Rightmove recorded this year that they saw the most activity ever on Rightmove on Boxing Day, and we've also seen sight of that of ourselves. So buyer activity is extremely strong. So what's happening on the other side of the fence with sellers? We've also seen really, really strong seller activity as well. So we measure obviously how many valuations we book in on a daily, weekly timescale, and for the first part of January, we booked in more valuations or market appraisals than we ever have done as a business over the first few weeks of the month. So from my opinion, we've got really strong buyer activity, we've got really strong seller activity. Ultimately, that is going to be the basis of a strong market as we go into 2026. If you don't know who I am, I've been in the industry for touching 30 years. I've sold over 5,000 properties during my career, working in areas across Middlesex, Hertfordshire, Buckinghamshire, London, and also working internationally. This is why you shouldn't be using Rightmove in 2026. We've got Rightmove, and we've also got social media. Two completely different forms of marketing or advertising our properties. So you might be thinking, why not Rightmove? Here are the differences. So with Rightmove, I post a listing up, I'm selling a property in WD3. So here's WD3. If I'm looking in WD3 on Rightmove and I'm putting in a search between 800 to 900,000, I'm gonna find this house. However, what about all the people that are looking for the same house as the one that I'm just about to list at 850,000, but they're not looking in WD3, they're looking in WD4, they're looking in HP somewhere, or they're in London and they're not sure what area they want to move to, but this is going to tick all of their boxes. Rightmove falls down with this because you will never ever find that listing because it is postcode driven. In order to find a property on Rightmove, you need to put the postcode in. So this is where the difference between the two come in. If I take that same house, and with us, we obviously create a video, and I put that video onto social media, I've got two different types of traffic that I can use. One is organic and one is paid. Organic, so in every single local area on social media, specifically Facebook, you have lots of different groups. So within WD3, there's 15, 20, 25 different groups full of all of the local community for different things. I can take my listing and organically, i.e. it doesn't cost me any money, I put it into all the different groups in WD3. All of a sudden, I've got eyeballs from people with groups with 5,000, 10,000, 15,000, 20,000, all within WD3 looking at that property video. But I can then take that same video and drop it into all of these other areas. So I can then take that video and drop it into groups in central London. I can take it into groups in other parts of Hertfordshire. So automatically what's happening, all of a sudden I'm getting all of these people in different areas that might be looking for a property that aren't looking on Rightmove in WD3, and all of a sudden the listing pops up in that Facebook group. They see it, or a friend or a family member sees it, and then they go back and they say, we've just seen a similar house to what you're looking for. What do you think? They go to Google the area. all of a sudden the train distance works for their commute into London. It works because it's got similar standard or outstanding schools close by. It's got the motorway links, it's got the airport travel. It fits perfectly. And all of a sudden, we've now generated more exposure, more clients or more viewings for that property without spending a penny and without using Rightmove. The second thing, paid traffic. So at the back end of Facebook, for those of you that have never done paid advertising before, you can inject a small amount of money on a daily basis, whether it be, I would say, £5 to £10 per day, and drive your property video through a targeted approach. So you can target people that have paid an interest into the local area, paid an interest into luxury goods if you're selling a luxury home, paid attention to Rightmove, and look for the types of demographics that are moving into your area or into the road that your listing is on. And you can target those people specifically through paid advertising. What will then happen is the video that we've created, we drive it to that audience, it pops up on their newsfeed. All of a sudden, the person that was looking in WD4 or a completely different part of the world sees the house that they've been looking for, ticks all the boxes. They then, again, similar to the organic approach, they then Google the area, see that it fits their requirements in terms of their commute, schools, motorway links, and all of a sudden you've got more viewings through social media. I said at the start, don't use Rightmove. I lied. You need to use Rightmove as well, but for additional exposure, use social media. How to improve and get a less than 1 in 10 viewing to sale conversion by spending less time on the road and ultimately making more money. So this comes down to better buyer qualification. So quite often the case when I sit in front of sellers that have been on the market with lots of different agents, they will say they've had loads of viewings and no offers. This is down to a lack of qualification when the salespeople or estate agents are qualifying the viewings before they go ahead. That you need to be asking. And you need to be asking open-ended questions and just following those questions right through to the bitter end. So rather than just asking someone what they're looking for, follow it. Why are they looking for that property? Why are they looking to move to that location? When do they need to be there? I was always taught as a young negotiator to always follow the when and why. If you continually ask when and why when you're speaking to your buyers, it will save you spending lots and lots of time with people that just go out and view, out and view, out and view, wasting your time, wasting your seller's time and never buying, to spending time with highly motivated buyers that will buy because you know exactly what they want to buy and when they want to buy. So spend your time with the right people that are highly motivated. How to sell properties at a very, very fast rate, but also by getting your client the absolute best price for their property. So here's the property you are marketing. Most estate agents will have a viewing going in on a Monday, a viewing going in on a Wednesday, another viewing going in on a Friday, and there's no real urgency for buyers to buy now. The way we get around that is what I call the auction room scenario. So if you can imagine being in an auction, when you go to an auction, there is an emotional buy-in from every single person in that room. Let's play out 2 scenarios. First scenario, I've seen a house I want to buy. I go to the auction, it's at 200,000. I'm sitting there, they start bids at 200,000. I've put my hand up, no one else bids against me. I secure the house at 200,000, sold. Second scenario, which is what we do with our open houses. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe 7, maybe 10, maybe 12 buyers all viewing this house in this auction room scenario. We start bids, and then because they're in competition with each other, they keep putting their hands up. So I go back to that auction room and there are 6 people like me all wanting that same house. They start the bids at 200,000. I put my hand up, someone offers 205, I offer 210. There is an emotional buy-in from me because I do not want to lose that house. There is also an emotional buy-in from every other person that wants to buy that property. When we do our open house events, we create the same strategy as an auction room for our sellers. However, this only works if your pricing is correct. You overprice and you do not create this. So pricing is key. This shocked me the other week. I went to a valuation, walked in, spoke to the seller, and they were listed with 5 different estate agents, all in the same local area. And he wanted to bring me on as number 6. What did I do? I told him I couldn't help him and I walked out. For sellers out there, this is also going to help you. The reason I walked away, if a property is marketed with more than one agent on the portals, you are going to appear, or the listing is going to appear as desperate to every single buyer out there, because that's the first place they go rather than going straight to a high street agent or an agency website. In addition to that, for those of you out there that are trying to create competition and get your buyers, or sorry, your sellers the very best price for their property, that will never happen when you are doing multi-agency, because ultimately what you're effectively doing is you're competing with other agents just to find them a buyer. And ultimately you are then at risk of not even earning a fee. So you spend all of your time, all of your money, all of your effort, and it's just a case of sticking your finger out the window and hoping and praying that a buyer comes along. Stick to doing sole agency, where you can offer a proven, tested strategy like our open house events, like our social media strategy, where you can demonstrate and create urgency to get your clients the very best price. How to price properties correctly so you get maximum impact for your clients and not be outdone by agents that overprice and undercut you on fees. So as we all know, on the high street, estate agents all do the same thing. They all advertise on Rightmove. They've all got a window display. They've all got a database of clients. They all have professional photos. But what else do they do? Probably not a lot. So when there's 3 high street agents in the front room of a seller's property, they can't compete on strategy. So the only thing they're going to compete on is price and fee, which ultimately ends up driving the price of the property up and makes it unrealistically priced, and ultimately their fees drop so they earn less money for doing exactly the same job. As a self-employed estate agent, we do not want to enter into that same room, and we don't need to. What we need to do is we need to demonstrate to our sellers that this is going to have a negative impact on the sale of their property. As you all know, you get a moment of impact when you put the property onto the market, and those first few weeks are vital to get all the eyeballs onto that house. And with the open house strategy that we'd previously spoken about, that's only ever going to happen if the price is right and we stand out like a sore thumb. So in order for this to happen, we need to really dive into pricing to make sure that we get our pricing at a point where we draw in maximum attention to get as many inquiries, as many phone calls as possible to create urgency, which is ultimately going to drive the price up for our sellers rather than down. If you want more actionable tips and you are an estate agent in the UK looking to earn more money, every single month I'll be releasing our own strategies, our own processes to make sure that we and you earn more money and become successful.